And then I'm going to start off with the mission statement. I know that this is boring because we do it every single time, but I have to do it each time. Our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at the Helping Parents Heal meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents and siblings whose family member has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about the many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, as well as to learn about the afterlife. So this goes as well for siblings. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. And so I'm going to go ahead and go down the list, if that's okay with you, because I'd like to tell you a little bit about these exceptional panelists that we have today. First of all, Anna Buckmaster is from London. She was born in Surrey. Her brother and only sibling, Pete, passed in 2014 in a car accident. Being left as an only sibling, she realized that there were no support systems or communities specifically for bereaved brothers and sisters, and struggled to find people in similar situations to confide in. After her parents joined Helping Parents Heal and gained a great deal of comfort in the community, I want to just put in here very quickly, her mother, Joanne, is a channeler. She channels Pete. She felt compelled to create a sibling branch of the group to allow a space for people to connect and talk openly about their experiences. She hopes that this group, as the first of its kind, will provide hope and comfort to those who are told to stay strong for others and often struggle alone. Please visit the Helping Siblings Heal Facebook page, which is just called Helping Siblings Heal. About Cody. Cody Brooks lives in the Cleveland area in Ohio. His brother Quin Hardon passed away on January 24th, 2017. Cody has grieved and has hurt and has been working on healing, and it is no easy task, but it can be done. It is a constant work in progress. There are no straight lines in the loss of a loved one. He has good days and he has heart-wrenching days, but nonetheless, he knows Quin is with him and his family, working with others who have passed over. And just like they are working together, helping us, we are also in this together. Cody couldn't be more proud of those who have helped him grow, and he hopes that he may help others grow along the way. If there is one thing he has learned in all of this, it is that we are not meant to do this alone. And Kailee Savoie, who is from here originally, but she's over in Hawaii right now, is a shining light sibling, sister of Garrett, living in Scottsdale, Arizona before. She is a mind-body wellness practitioner specializing in yoga. She really loves teaching kids and family yoga, holistic nutrition, clinical aromatherapy, and she is a Reiki master. You can usually find her hiking when the weather is nice, reading, collecting crystals, and spending her time with her soul family. She is met through Helping Parents Heal and Helping Siblings Heal. Kailee currently resides in Hawaii on the Big Island, and I just want to say that she's the daughter of Lori Savoie, who is our Helping Parents Heal secretary, and Kailee volunteered at our first Helping Parents Heal conference, and she was definitely the favorite of all volunteers. She was just amazing. I also want to introduce, and I know that all of you already know him, Craig McMahon, who is on here today, because he's also a Shining Light sibling. And I'm hoping that although you all were able to hear a little bit about his journey the other day, he can give a little bit more insight and maybe answer a few questions as we move forward. And I feel very grateful because he is super, super busy with his series, his spirituality series, Life to Afterlife. And so this is a huge honor to have him here. So without further ado, I'd really like to just go down the line, starting with Anna, and maybe have you describe a little bit about your life in terms of what happened with Pete and how you've moved forward, how you've been able to heal, what your healing path is, and anything else that you'd like to say.
Thanks, Elizabeth. My name's Anna. I lost my only brother, Pete, 6 years ago now, and I was 19 at the time. And I lost him in a car accident, so it was very sudden and unexpected, which was really traumatic for myself and my parents. He was a musician, a brilliant musician, a brilliant drummer, some would say a prodigy on the drums. So his loss was very much kind of like mourned by a large community of his friends and musicians that he'd played with and worked with, and he had like a budding career ahead of him, which was obviously terrible when all of that was taken away. So I, at the time of Pete's accident, was in full-time vocational training, and I had assessments the following week. So one of the ways that I tried to cope at the time was to just throw myself into my training. I think I took 4 days off when Pete passed, and then I went back on the 5th day, and then I never took a day off since then. So it was very much trying to distract myself from what had happened, and I kind of used the excuse that, you know, this is my vocational training, I've really got to put my all into this, because I always did beforehand, but I think that was a bit of an excuse for me kind of neglecting dealing with my own feelings, and that's something that I think is really common. I've seen it with a lot of siblings that I've spoken to or that posted on Helping Siblings Heal. A lot of us tend to kind of pretend that nothing happened, and it is a form of denial. I was in denial for a very long time, and it was really hard for me to kind of move past that and let myself be upset and let myself grieve. Part of that was to do with the fact that I felt I had to stay strong for my parents. Obviously they were devastated when Pete passed, so I felt that I had a responsibility to take care of them, especially being the only sibling left. I thought I'm the only person who's got to uphold them, and this was something that was kind of echoed back to me from well-meaning people who, for example, at Pete's funeral came up to me and said, you've got to stay strong for your parents, you've got to look after them, and of course I would, but I think as a sibling, if you get told that again and again, it kind of reinforces this opinion in your head that your grief is secondary to your parents, and that you kind of have to put yours on hold to help them get through it. And this is a habit that I carried on for a long, long time, and still to some extent do today, in terms of like deflecting and pretending that things didn't happen when they did. And it took me a long time to realise that I really needed to look after myself to be able to help my parents. That's saying you can't pour from an empty cup. You've got to really make sure that you are dealing with your feelings in a productive way that will help you to move forwards and be able to support your parents or your family in the way that they need, but without jeopardising your own chance to grieve as well. And having signs from Pete was really helpful for me in that, to know that he's around, and that was with me right from the beginning, so I always kind of had that in the back of my mind, that he was around me still, and I think in a sense that helped me to pretend it wasn't an issue, because I could always think about it later because he'd always be there. But this is something that I've seen echoed through a lot of siblings. I think it's something which a lot of siblings struggle with, holding back their own grieving process and their feelings to be able to look after the rest of their family. But it does get better. You can move past it, and communication for me was a really key thing in kind of letting myself go through the feelings that I needed to go through to heal.
That's beautiful. I always mute myself just in case the dogs start barking. Sorry about that, but that was beautiful, Anna. Thank you so much. And it is something that a lot of people say, that unfortunately you guys are the forgotten grievers, and it's wonderful that you've been able to recognize that and surmount it. But let's talk more about that after. Let's go to, let's see, Cody, and hear a little bit about your journey.
Okay. So my name is Cody, and I lost my brother in a physical sense. So he passed on January 24th of 2017. And so now it's been almost 3.5 years. But yeah, before he passed, I was actually more so the opposite. I was like, before he passed, I was holding on to a lot of emotions. I was not talking to anybody about what was going on with me at the time. So, I'd go to work and go home and just like hold on to like my depressions at the time, and just thinking that like if I hold on to it, it helped me be stronger as a person. And so when my brother did end up passing on, it really just shook my whole foundation. And I remember just like this overwhelming emotions I've never even felt before. Like, I remember it just being so silent and then just come all in at once like a tidal wave. And in a weird way, I'm kind of grateful for that today, for that moment, because if I didn't get to feel those such strong emotions, I don't think I would have been able to learn how to start letting go and start really feeling the raw emotions and bring it into my practice and my healing. And so at first, definitely I went from like not seeking any help to overreaching and just trying to find out any answers I could, and trying to really understand what happened, because when he passed, he had a chronic illness. It's called polycythemia vera, and it's basically his red blood cells in his bone marrow were produced more frequently than a normal body process. And so he'd have to go and get phlebotomies from the doctor's office. So within the last year, he stopped going, and he's like, these doctors don't know what they're doing. Every doctor has a different answer. So I'm sick of being a guinea pig. So I want to try to figure out on my own. And so he did. And it ended up being the thing that took his life. His organs just were overworking. So he ended up passing away in the woods near our house. And, none of us really had answers. We didn't know what happened. The police didn't help us look for him. And so like my mother did her own search party, and they found him that very next day after she organized it. And so, yeah, we had no answers. So we had nothing to go on. And to this day, we really don't have a clear answer. But the gist of it is that his health was deteriorating. And so, yeah, it shook my very foundation. And I will say that not really knowing what happened at the time and being so lost, yet feeling all these raw emotions, just really helped me to learn to just start letting everything go. And it's still a process. I'm still in the middle of it, if not just the start of it. But yeah, just learning how to let this come through me and just filter my emotions and start to learn how to filter others people's emotions really has helped me in, has really helped me in my healing process. And so today I have come a long way. I will say that I too have gotten into Reiki. So I've finished my Reiki 3 class. I haven't taught anybody, but you know, I work on like my grandmother and stuff. So that definitely helps me learn more about myself, while at the same time, you know, be able to help her. And it's a beautiful process. But other than that, I've also just started seeking my journey and learning who I am. And it's really been a journey. Let's say that it's just beginning, but it's so far is like the things that I have learned to this day now. Before he passed, I never would have thought. You know, I remember telling him that, you know, like there's so much here. Like there's so much inside, but I can't figure it out. And I remember Quin saying like, yeah, it's like, maybe you're right. Maybe you're just crazy. And then, you know, fast forward to today, it's like, wow, it's like, if I only knew, you know. And so yeah, I've worked a lot with people, definitely in the more spiritual field, and helping me heal, like through Reiki sessions, through talking about my brother, through communications with my brother, and also learning how to communicate with my brother via myself. And so that in itself is just such a blessing, and I couldn't ask for more. And I don't know where I would be today if I didn't have all the beautiful tools that are given to me from him, from, you know, angels, from guides and ancestors, to masters, and, you know, just God itself. You know, it's been a very challenging road, but there's been so many beautiful things and so many blessings that I could never be like completely sad about what has happened, you know. And in a weird way, it has been a blessing to be able to learn about myself, to be able to connect with all of you, to be able to move forward, instead of, whereas before he did pass, I really was stagnant and just stuck in myself, you know. So with that, yeah, I'll say that it's been a beautiful journey, and it continues to be a beautiful journey.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh, Cody. I just love hearing you speak. I love these siblings, how together they are and how beautiful they are. And just the fact that you do meditation, you do Reiki, you connect with your brother. There are just so many fascinating things that I think that maybe a lot of times parents don't realize, and maybe even siblings don't realize, that this is going to happen to them as well. Kailee, can you talk to us about yourself? Sweetheart, I miss seeing you here.
Thank you. I miss you too. And thank you for hosting this, and for everybody being here. So my brother passed away November 17th, 2010. So it'll be 10 years this November, which is crazy. I am the oldest of 3 siblings. So it was me, my brother and I were 16 months apart. Garrett came next, and then my sister is 8 years younger. So at the time I had been living in Canada, going to college, and similar to Anna, my brother's death was unexpected. He had gotten into substances, drugs, and was facing his sentencing, where he was going to find out if he was going to jail or not. And he ended up taking his own life the morning of the court hearing. So no note, our whole family was shocked. My sister wasn't even aware that he had been in trouble or anything that was going on. So she has had like a whole separate experience of also losing the sibling that she thought she knew, which has been a journey. So like Anna, I thought the best way to help myself was to stay busy. So I was home for a week. I went to the funeral. I don't remember much of that time. Actually, the next, I think, couple years, my whole family was in shock. And I had a moment of clarity where I knew his death was going to mean something right before the service. But after that, I had my own grieving process, where I didn't want to move forward. I really didn't want to live. I was so sad, but I knew what it felt like to be left behind. So I knew that wasn't an option. So I actually was not doing well in school. My brain was not there. I should have taken a break. I ended up doing it after a bit, and moved back home to go to therapy and stuff. But at the time, I was looking for other people to help me out. And it was a bunch of 20-year-olds partying in college. So it created a lot of very unhealthy cycles for a couple of years. And that's when I realized, after a certain point, I realized that I wasn't really living and I wasn't planning on dying. So I wanted to make a change. And I guess I should back up. One of the things that did really help our family was 2 weeks after he passed away. We did not know this woman. She was friends with my great aunt. We're from Canada originally, so she lived in Canada. Her name's April. And my brother came through to her. She's a psychic medium and a healer. So none of that, we didn't know anything, but she had all kinds of messages, knew all of our names, knew how he died, when he died. My aunt had not told her that she was with us for a funeral. She had absolutely no idea. So having that, we are friends with her. I actually just talked to her the other day. She changed the course of our family's healing for sure, knowing that my brother was around, that he was not in any pain and he was with us, helped and has changed. My mom is she was always very intuitive, but it just opened up her gifts. So she was kind of on board, but I think we all had to go through quite a few years of feeling very, very sad. And it was like a shell of a life, which I think I do want to say for any sibling and any parent, that is so okay. And you need to feel your grief and to be there. My hope and my experience is that it is temporary, and it is so hard to breathe or move or do anything sometimes, but that is because we have been able to love so, so deeply. And having these resources of helping parents heal, of other family and friends, if you can get a reading, many readings if that helps, paying attention to the signs and the songs and maybe the numbers that pop up, your dreams that you have, those. It took me a bit to realize that I didn't have my brother in my life physically anymore the way I wanted to, but he is always in my life and always around. And that is one thing I will say, just from being a part of the siblings, that I noticed. And Elizabeth, I had spoken with you about this, but I think the Helping Parents Heal is really great about having mediums and everybody to connect with kids. And I understand parents a lot of time are maybe more open or ready or have the resources. It's different for every family, but that was something that I think would be helpful. Or if you have other children and it's something that you want to experience together, I know it brought me and my mom a lot closer. And it just allows them to realize that they can have a connection as well, that continues on, and that their siblings always going to be there. I know it looks different. There's a lot of the same feelings for everybody, and we can all empathize, but everybody's journey is different. So kind of after when I had that moment of realizing that I wasn't really living, I'm not dying, but I want to do something. It was like the universe started putting things in my path, falling into place, where I just would pick up a book. It was based off of A Course in Miracles. It's called Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard. I can always message you, Elizabeth. But that book was recommended to me, and then a friend had it. So I read it all in one day. And it allowed me to understand the connection that we are, all spiritual beings. It's not Bernard, but Renard, and starting with an R. Yeah. But that also allowed me to forgive my brother and forgive myself and start on that healing process. Because as much as we are, we question all the things that we could have done. Sometimes even when it's out of their control, you might be feeling mad or angry that you are the one that's left behind and that you have to deal with this, and it's the wrong way. Parents are never supposed to bury their kids, and there's all this. So as much as you would maybe not think that there's a reason to forgive them, this book really opened up my heart. And so I knew that I wanted to help people to avoid this kind of situation, from them ever having to experience what it's like to lose a sibling or a son or a daughter from suicide. And it took me a while too, but I had my degree in psychology, but that's when I had started doing yoga on my own, and it was really helping me. Eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, getting a lot of the processed stuff out, helps balance out my moods, give me more energy, allow me to sleep better. And I did meet somebody. I was in a relationship for a while, and this is our unique situation, but he had a daughter. So I know having her in my family's life brought a lot more healing for us, because my parents were like grandparents to her when we were together. And that's where it really clicked for me that I wanted to work with young kids. So I've been focusing on that. And honestly, the Helping Parents Heal and my mom and the signs from my brother have also continued to lead me down the more spiritual route, and Reiki, and having those kind of tools has been life-changing. So I'm so grateful for all of you parents. That was such an honor to be able to meet you guys that I did. And yeah, I'm rambling, sorry.
You're not rambling. And I'll tell you, having you at the conference was just like, it was one of the best things that could have happened. Being able to have these parents see you and know that the siblings that they have at home or had at home are going to survive and are going to thrive is amazing. And the things that you've accomplished with your mom, with the Reiki, are also just incredible. But I'm so grateful to all three of you. And I'd like to have Craig, who spoke a couple days ago, but he's farther down the line, and now he's doing some incredible things in honor of his two brothers. Could you just say a few words for us, Craig, about your journey?
Hello, guys. It's a pleasure to see all you. I was quite young when my first brother transitioned. I was only about 10 years old. And he died in a car accident. And he actually had a baby girl just born. Like I said, I was 10 years old. And I'm still fresh out of the afterlife, still kind of 10 years old. I didn't really quite, my mom would say, he's not going to be around. You understand that? And I said, I don't understand what you're saying. So she just chalked it off as, I just didn't get the idea of death. But I think I was more or less just kind of saying, no, we'll see him real soon kind of thing. I always kind of knew that. So then when I was about 20, years old, I had a spiritually transformative experience. I was meditating quite a bit, and a little too much actually. And I was leaving my body. I could feel the vibration of trees. It was just a wild experience. And an ascended master, spirit guide, or somebody just kind of shook me up and said, "What are you doing? You didn't come here to do this. You came here to experience a life, and you're 20 years old. You've got this whole life ahead of you. You need to," sorry, my dogs are chiming in.
Okay, we have the same thing.
I must have a delivery.
Amazon.
So this spiritually transformative experience was, why are you doing this? You need to stop it, pretty much. Quit worrying about the afterlife. You're gonna figure that out real quick. Focus on your life. And so I did. I stopped meditating. I stopped talking about politics. I stopped talking about religion. I dropped everything and focused on my life. And I was in California at the time. And that's what I did. Sorry. I don't know if this is really loud to you guys, but it's really distracting.
It's fine. It's fine. It doesn't distract us.
So then as an adult, I had a brother commit suicide. And he, again, was probably facing some prison situation. And I think he took his life. But I will say that when you have one brother that was killed in a car accident and another brother that died of suicide, you look at these two different ways, and you realize it's a transition point, where our society tends to put the stigma on of my brother that committed suicide. He left behind two kids. How dare him to be so selfish? And I always thought that was odd once again, because I was pretty spiritual at that point. And I will say that the suicide thing was the part that was difficult for me. Was if times get tough in life, is that really a temptation to do that? That was one of the harder things that I applied it to my own life in my own little selfish way. Was, wow, is it contagious? Is it because you hear about that. You hear about families, like one's got a suicide, an uncle that's suicide, and you're like, well, are we just that way? And are we just, I'm sick of this. I'm going to check out. I'm going to go back home, So that was kind of weird for me to wrap my head around the suicide thing. But I'd never felt angry at him. I never really did. I actually understood the circumstances, and I knew him well enough but we didn't know where he was. And, you know, the police were looking for him. Everybody was looking for him. It was late at night. I was in my kitchen, and he came to me, and I'm like, wow, dude, you're gone. You did it. You're here with me, and I can't see you, but I can definitely feel you. I could smell you. Wow. You just changed everything. Your kids. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh. And like I said, he did come to me, and I was rather flattered because I was like, why are you coming to me? Go to your 2 kids, your wife. I mean, but then I realized later on that they're multidimensional, that they can be at 3 or 4 places at one time. That was kind of hard for me to wrap my head around it. And then years later, I got a message that said I need to start doing these spirituality series. And of course, I was just like, there's just no, you know, in the business, it just doesn't sell. It's just, you know, it's all about the paranormal, the demons, the 666 stuff. If you get into the light side of it, it's just nobody's doing it. So I knew it was going to be a bit of a problem, you know, to survive and make a living, because I make movies. That's what I do, is I make family movies now. So doing the series, you know, when you sit down with 17 parents that lost children, you learn a lot. I mean, I had no idea I was going to learn a lot, but they're amazing people. They figured out how to put their life back together, and not only experience happiness, but sometimes joy, and having a dual life with their kids. And then I went and sat down with all these mediums, and I poked a bunch of questions, as like, what happens when we die? Where do we go? What's the purpose? All that stuff. So I got all their different ideas and all their anecdotal research. You know, I mean, they talk to the dead, so you figure they should have an insight. So that was that. And then I sat down with Robert Schwartz and Isabella Johnson, and we talked about, hey, do we plan this? Do we plan this life? I mean, and I started thinking about all these adversities, you know, cancer, and we lose a loved one, and you know, and it's very difficult because we're right in the middle of it. We're in the thick of it, and it's very difficult to say, is this really an ultimate divine plan that we're supposed to be doing this? Wow, that's crazy. And a lot of times it comes with pain, you know. I mean, it really does. It sobers us up real quick and makes us pay attention. Then the next one, I sat with Suzanne Wilson. She teaches students how to learn to become mediums. And so I was like, oh, this is great. I've got monkey mind. I go and meditate, and I'm like, oh my gosh, laundry. Oh my gosh, I got to get that movie finished. Whoa, I'm not meditating. I want to learn what they're doing to quiet their mind, and how they're able to, Kailee, your mom was in that documentary. And it was so interesting. She said, I don't really meditate. I thought that was beautiful. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. She's still connecting. And I realized that it's all these different tools, all these different modalities. It really doesn't matter. You just find that one thing that you do, and you just leverage it. Suzanne Wilson is an awesome, awesome teacher. And it was really a pleasure to sit down with these people learning to become mediums and become more psychic. And then, of course, I interviewed 12 healers from all over the world. Most of them were Reiki healers, and some were just empath healers. And I was blown away with Reiki. I really just thought, you know, Reiki was like yoga or Tai Chi. I didn't really think much of it. And I was really like, wow, those Japanese guys, they really had it down. I mean, I was like, really some amazing stuff that they were doing. And, you know, you think, wow, I'm so blessed. I get to learn all these different ways of spirituality. And you sit with these people all day, you know, sometimes 4 or 5 hours, sometimes all day. And, you know, I've asked some pretty profound questions off camera, but you start to learn, you know, what it's all about. Now I'm working on these people that have died and came back. And the stories that they are, it's just, and Elizabeth, you know, a few of them. they're different. They have after effects. They're automatically empathic. They're automatically just more enlightened, and it's just crazy to sit there and hang out with these people. But I'm really onto this trust thing. So I think that's real important, is to trust whatever information that you may get. It's helped me a lot. So there's me.
That's perfect, Craig. I am so glad that you gave a little bit of a resume about all of those amazing documentaries as well. And I have questions here that people want to ask, but the first question that I want to be able to ask, starting with Anna, is about connection with Pete. Do you have any examples of connecting with him, and do you feel like he's a part of your life, and do you feel like you're moving forward with him? And one of the aspects of this question is, do you feel that you are doing more in your life today than you might have done before because he is helping you?
So the first time that I felt I received a sign from him was really, really early on. It was at the hospital. He after his accident, there was a period of time at the hospital where they were trying to keep him alive, and they weren't sure whether he was going to make it or not. And then, so this was after when they'd told us that they'd done the brainstem check and that they didn't think that he was going to pull through. He had sent me a text the night of his accident. It was about 9 p.m. His accident was about 1 a.m. But I'd had a really busy day. I was really tired. It was just a simple message like, "Hey sis, how you doing?" So I just went to sleep. I didn't reply. And then in the middle of the night, get a phone call from my dad saying that Pete had been in an accident. So I went to the hospital and I replied to his message. As silly as it felt at the time, I felt like I had to reply because I felt so awful for not having replied at the time. If I'd have replied, maybe he wanted to talk, maybe he wouldn't have gone out for the drive, maybe the accident wouldn't have happened. So I replied, and then the next day, after they had done the tests and said that he's not going to make it, I looked on the message, and it said, sometimes you can see your message, it says last online at so-and-so time, and it said for his last online a couple of hours ago, and no one had been on his phone, and no one had had access to that. So for me, that was a really, really strong sign that he'd seen my reply and that he was thankful for me replying, even if I hadn't done it in the first place. So like I said before, I think that idea or that knowledge that he was with me was there right from the start, which was really, really lovely for me. Now most of my signs come in the form of feathers. I've got a little necklace of a feather around my neck. My friend's got it for me as a little kind of symbol that he's always with me. So I wear this like every day. I never take it off. So yeah, I find little feathers in really strange places. And one that was more recent, which felt really strong, and I had someone ask me recently, like, how do you know whether something is a sign or not? And I'm not an expert. I can't say for everybody, but for me, the way I feel that it's a sign is immediately when I see something or I experience something or feel something, I feel Pete's presence, and I get this kind of overwhelming feeling of him and him being there with me. So I was sitting on the sofa, and one of the little dandelion seed things kind of rolled across the floor, rolled up my leg and literally into my hand. And I was just sitting there just amazed, and I just burst into tears because I really felt his presence with me then. So I think to anyone who is wanting a sign or is wondering whether they've had a sign, if you just keep aware and just notice your feeling when something happens that you feel might be a sign. If you feel a strong connection with your sibling or whoever it is, then I believe that is, and you should treasure that and hold on to it. I've had messages through mediums as well. A few times he's given little messages to me, but I think mostly how he shows up to me is through these little signs. And then what was the second part of your question?
Well, do you think that you have done more with your life now than you might have done based on the fact that you are honoring Pete and maybe wanting to make your life more important and more significant because of that?
I think I definitely feel that he has either opened doors for me or directed me in directions which I was unsure of. I needed a little bit of guidance. Sometimes something has happened and I've thought, that's really strange, that's very ironic, or what are the chances? And immediately I think Pete's pulling a few strings up there and opening those doors for me. And I think definitely I've become more spiritual. That's something I'd still like to explore more for myself. I have a very busy life, so it's hard to find the space and time for everything, but I definitely like to explore that part more. I know that I have a lot of healing energy, and I'd like to be able to use that. And side note, in case anyone else is in the same situation, I suffer from anxiety, and I've been told that because I have so much healing energy and I haven't been getting rid of it by using it, that pent up energy can contribute to my anxiety. So that's just a thought for anyone out there who might be feeling that kind of pent up anxiety or have an anxiety disorder. Perhaps exploring that and letting that energy out in a healthy way by helping others as well might help to kind of alleviate some of that.
That's beautiful. And I just want to say that your mom is helping so many people by showing them how to channel. And she's had courses with the UK group, which is exciting. I'm sure that if she does it in the future, it'll be on a Zoom meeting and probably everyone can join. But some of the things that Pete has had her channel are just out of this world. They definitely don't sound like something that a normal 20-something-year-old son would be sending to their parents, and it's amazing and beautiful. I want to go on from there. Christine is Michaela, I'd like to do this one. I think this is an important question, and I'll get back to Christine after, but she's saying that she struggles with how to support her daughter since her brother, since that time, but especially since she's about to go to uni. Maybe Cody, could you take that and say how parents can support you when you're moving forward, and what they can do to be able to make you feel better and make you feel like you can do these things, leave home and do these things. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I would say always support her in every decision she makes. You know, she's especially going to uni. But I know it's very hard to, because if you're going through a grieving process yourself, and then you're like, how can I help my kids? You know, like I know from like personal, my mother would be like, how can I help you guys when I don't even know how, like I'm going through it myself, you know? And it's really just like, the biggest thing is just be there, you know, just be there for us like you always have been, you know? You don't have to do anything different. Just, you know, if they want to talk, you can always bring up like, hey, do you want to talk about this before? You know, if not, we don't have to. We can just, you know, go out to lunch, have fun, you know, you can talk when you're ready. But yeah, just, you know, just show that you're there, and, you know, always support her in everything she does, and believe in her as you do, I'm sure. And, yeah, there's nothing you have to really do other than that. It's like what would you want from your parents, you know what I mean? And if like you ask yourself, You might find even more answers than what I'm giving you. But yeah, for my end, that's how I feel. I feel like, hey, just even, you know, even just a hug is enough, you know, because that exchange, that love is there. It's always been there, you know. Like she's my mother, you're her mother. It doesn't go anywhere, and you know, as long as you support her, I mean, that's really from my end, all I could see doing, you know. And she's gonna do her own thing. She's gonna do, you know, she's gonna feel how she feels, but that support just adds so much more to the foundation of me being able to move forward, because that's who I look up to, you know.
That's beautiful. That is wonderful, Cody. And you're right. The most important thing is supporting our kids in everything that they do. And sometimes it's not easy, but probably just accepting whatever they decide to do, because they're probably following what their siblings are wanting them to do anyway, if they're doing what they really care about. So,
Absolutely.
and I have a question maybe for Kailee here. Christine is asking, do you feel that the passing of Garrett has affected your relationships in other areas of your life? It's been about 6 years since the siblings that she has in her family, their brother transitioned in a car accident. Although she sees them thriving, she worries that it holds them back in some ways. Do you think that it's hard to get close to anyone? And does that make sense to you? Here, I'll unmute you.
Yeah, these are all really great questions. 100% it changed my relationships and how I interact with people. For me, like hands down now, I would say I would not be able to love or connect as deeply if I hadn't had this experience. I think, yeah, being at the age, 20 in college, all that, you haven't lived that much. So things are a lot more of a big deal. And having gone through that, when my friends were freaking out over, I don't know, not talking to some guy or whatever, you have a bit of a bigger picture of what's important of having your family around. And so when I have met friends and had relationships or whoever, even with my family members, there's just this like much deeper love and cherishing of that we are spending this time here together. And it's not always happy. It's not always easy. I am my mom would say that she's got, one kid who overshares, and that's me. I probably talk way too much to her. And then my sister actually is, I won't speak too much for her, but Anna, very similar, where she got very busy doing stuff, and she was younger, so she felt like she had to take care of my parents, and her healing has actually happened a lot later now, where a lot more of this stuff has hit her when she turned the age my brother was, and for her, she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't want to get help. She was very shut down, whereas me and my mom would want to cry whenever we're crying, bring up whatever's happening. And my dad and her were like the opposite. And actually for a while, my dad wasn't even coming to Helping Parents Heal or anything. That was my mom's thing. So I know, again, this is where it's all different for everybody, where some people may shut down in some areas for a little while. Some people, it might open them up, and they're willing to be, talk about and share. I think that if your kids are thriving, that this is a journey for all of us. I'm sure there's stuff that we haven't even realized that will come up and that will be sad and we'll need to grieve over again. Oh, my train of thought just went out.
You're doing a great job. Don't worry.
Thanks.
So you were just talking about how it has affected your relationships, but that you've been able to move forward. And obviously it's different for everyone in your family as well.
Yeah, and that's what it is you're right where you need to be. And so what your kids are experiencing, they have the whole tribe now of siblings and ancestors and angels that are all around that are going to be supporting them. But it's, at least I take comfort and I believe that whatever they're experiencing right now is something that they signed up to learn. So maybe if they're being a little bit more closed off in this moment, it doesn't mean that that's going to be the way it will be forever. Or if they are experiencing deeper love and connection and meaning, that's something special that you can take out of this passing of like, this was meant to happen and we're all growing and learning from it. And that's what I wanted to say.
That's beautiful. And oh, Kailee, it's always so wonderful to have you at meetings. Kailee comes to our Helping Parents Heal meetings and she shares at the meetings as well. I know Cody does as well. I'm pretty sure you probably do too, Anna, when you're in London, maybe some of those meetings, have you attended with your mom or?
I think in terms of the Helping Parents Heal stuff, it was my mum's not decision, but my mum always thought it was important for us to keep separate. And that's why she was encouraging me to create Helping Siblings Heal, because I think there's a lot of experiences as a bereaved sibling that we feel are really sensitive to bring up with our parents. We don't want to upset them by discussing things which might be happening, the way that our parents are grieving and what we see from that. It can be really, really hard to take that in and to process it. So I think for us as a family, it's good for us to have that separate space that I can talk with siblings and they can talk with other bereaved parents. And of course we do talk about things together, and I've gone to spiritual circles with them, so we are sharing that journey together. But I also think, especially for us, there's value in kind of having our own spaces where we can talk openly without the fear of hurting each other with what we're saying. Not that anything would be hurtful, but obviously when people are grieving and going through a really traumatic experience, it can be a really sensitive time. So that's kind of been our approach to it as a family.
Well, that's wonderful. And I think that both ways are equally valid. And I think that when I say that Kailee comes, we have a very, very tight-knit group of moms and dads who are all kind of like family. So I think that nobody ever feels uncomfortable expressing what we do. I think Craig has experienced that as well from coming to some of our get-togethers. I feel almost as though Helping Parents Heal is even a closer family, which it's not closer, but as close as my own family, because we all understand each other. And Kailee's kind of like that beautiful daughter that belongs to all of us. But anyway, I was going to go back to Cody because there's a question that's specifically for you from Galen, and I think it has to do with the fact that she must have a son who is about your age. And she's asking, Cody, was there a defining moment that helped you move from where you were to where you are, or was it a combination of things?
I feel like my brother's passing, it's definitely what set the record straight per se. You know, it really got me to really want to start changing, but it wasn't the only thing. It's like, let's put it this way. When my brother first passed and I didn't even seek a medium at the time. It just like, it was somebody I used to work with, and her grandmother passed. And when her grandmother passed, she started getting these abilities. But at work, I never really talked to her. She was a bartender and I was a cook. So I never really even ran into her, but they had a party, and for some reason I went there and I showed up, and then she started talking, and you know, she said, you know, with my brother's end, he's like, you know, I'm sorry that I did this to my parents. You know, I'm sorry that, you know, I wasn't in my best, or I wasn't my best. And so, you know, he's basically saying, you know, I'm going to help fix my brother, talking about me. And I was like, and so like when he first passed, it's like, yeah, that definitely is the foundation of it. That's really what got me seeking who I am, and to see what I can do for the community, whilst at the same time see what I can do for myself and see how I can tap into everything. But it's so much more than just that. It's everything. It's the people that you meet. It's the experiences that you have. Even when you're by yourself, and the experiences you have, like the signs that you get, everything. It's like each little thing just keeps on adding to my knowledge, and to me trying to understand better and figure out myself and what I'm meant to do. It really, really, it's really so much more. You know, it is everything. I wake up now and I realize that even the smallest little things is like set in place. You know, and yeah, I will say that I think as time goes on, it'll be the same for your son. You know, it's like, but he has to obviously be willing to be open to it. But at the same token, there always is things in play to help him grow. Always, even if he chose not to, even if he chose to, there's always people here and on the other side. There's always angels. There's always all of this here for us, helping to set up so that we can, because we're not really here. I honestly believe we are not here to suffer. Though suffering is part of the process, what we are here for is to grow. We are here to grow together, and we are here to learn. We are here to love. It's in our blood, you know. So
that's beautiful. Listen, breaking in with another question. Sylvia Christian is talking about the fact that her kids are all grieving in different ways, and you have a big family, Cody. Are all of your brothers and sisters on the same spiritual path, or are they separate?
For me, yeah, I do come from, like, personally, like in my family, that there's been a lot of mediums and psychics, but oddly enough, I really haven't had any relationships with them on that level where I got that in depth with it. So it's like I always knew it was a thing, but at the time I didn't get involved in it. So I feel like it's the same way for like my younger siblings right now. They're kind of the same way. My one brother, Austin, he's 26. I think he's just starting to really slowly let it click in and be like, you know, yeah, like I get signs from Quin, and, you know, it's crazy, and, like, you know, the things you say, it's, you know, I start to see it. Whereas, like, you know, I feel like my brother Gabe is the same way now, that he's 18, and so he's definitely on his own path, but, like, he's very open to it, just not a part of it, if that makes sense. And then my little sister Audrina, She is 12, and yeah, I think she's just not ready for it yet. It's because it is a lot to soak in, especially I think at that age where, you know, you go to school and like, if you bring it up to kids, a lot of kids around that age will be like, oh, that's weird, you know, this and that. So like, I can totally understand why she might want to push it away right now. But at the same time, I also feel like it's meant to be that way for her right now. You know, give her that chance to grow up in her life without really getting to seek that spirituality right now. But at the same time, she gets to see that I'm doing it, you know, and that like they're slowly starting to get into it, and like my mother is into it, you know. So.
And she loves you, and so I'm sure she admires you, and it'll probably be a very short time before she starts getting into that as well. I have a question from Chris, and I think that maybe if Craig could answer this. Did any of you siblings experience survivor's guilt in that you didn't want to be happy and experience life when your sibling could no longer do it? Did you ever feel that, Craig? Was it a part of your grieving process? Let me unmute you. Wait. Oh, wait, you do it. There we go.
We're both pushing the button.
Yes.
Survivor's guilt. I'm not really that person because I did not feel that, because, you know, I was 10 years old when my first brother died. So my mom became very spiritual. So it enlightened me at an early age to understand that this duality of the afterlife. So I just feel like I'm here and they're there. So I didn't really, I didn't experience that as much. And it was very strange. My father became an atheist when my brother was killed in the car accident, because that's what he did. And but no, my mother opened up a hypnosis institute in Chicago, so we became more spiritual. So we had a really good understanding, just my whole life growing up, about how it all works. So no, I did not have any survivor's guilt per se. I knew we would be reunited very quickly, you know, and it just seems like a long time, but I always know that it's so quick. So I never felt any of that survivor's guilt. I'm sorry I didn't.
Well, I have to say that we have a very enlightened panel. So I don't know if necessarily all kids go through, are you know, at the point where you guys are adults for Craig, but I think that this is something that we would call shining light siblings. And so all of them have gotten to this point where they interact with their brothers on a daily basis. They feel that they can communicate with them. Kailee has done some incredible healing on other people. You know, I think that once you're able to, one of the things that helps us the most is being able to help others. So the fact that all of these kids have stepped up and want to be affiliate leaders and want to help others, I think is one of the things that also helps them the most. It does for me to be able to be with other parents all the time. And I know that what Craig is doing with his documentary as well is incredibly healing. So survivor's guilt is probably something that
you know, Elizabeth, I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
It was really quite the opposite for me. I almost feel jealous, and I know that's kind of goofy, but I'm out here doing this life thing, and it's easy for them now, you know, and I hate to put it in that perspective, because I don't want anyone to just think of life as like not anything more than just a miracle, but they're free. You know, you've spent time with Ingrid, you know, she was 3 years old and she was just,
ready to
little
go.
doggy. She goes and hangs with the little doggy. She goes over here and she was quite upset when she had to come back. So, I mean, it's like, I don't really feel any survivor's guilt. I feel more of like, it's just not our culture. We think when someone dies, it's so sad and everything, but I'm just like, I'm excited for them. I mean, I know that sounds kind of weird, but
doesn't sound weird at all. They're home.
Yeah, they get to go home and they get to do all those wonderful things and always feel loved. Always. I mean, just 100% of the time they get to feel all that. And I don't really, I'm kind of jealous, you know. I miss that part. You don't really experience that much here on Earth, you know. You feel alone a lot of times. You feel dejected, you feel sad, but it's quite the opposite with me. I know when my mom passed, I was really happy for her because she's a Zoomer, you know. And I don't mean like Zoom, I mean she just goes off, you know. And I know she's doing all kinds of amazing things, and I know you probably like that with Morgan. I mean, it's endless what they're doing, and so I feel happy for them, actually.
Well, that's beautiful. And we are running out of time, and poor Anna over in the UK, it's pretty late at night now, but I wanted to see if there are any concluding statements that any of you would like to make on the panel, or if there's any questions that we haven't answered, because I'm hoping that we can do this again, because this was so healing. And I know that it's something that a lot of people will be watching on YouTube and maybe wanting to ask more questions. But if not, I see Kailee's left, and maybe she has work over there. So I don't know if we went too long too. So anyway, I really want to thank all of you for being on here as well. Oh, here's Kailee. So I was worried you might need to get to work since it's early over there. And Galen is saying thank you so very much for this amazing presentation. And I truly thank all of you as well. And again, if you guys are all willing to, we'll try to organize another one of these in another couple months. But I want everybody to understand that we are ramping up the Helping Siblings Heal. So they're going to be having meetings all by themselves. And actually they have a meeting scheduled with Kat Bailey. Anna, could you talk about that meeting? Because this is only for siblings. And if you could just say a little bit about that one.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah, we've got a meeting this Sunday for siblings only. We want to create a space where they feel they can talk openly, and it's going to be based on emotions and using them in a positive way to aid your healing, and also about signs and how to recognize them and how to look out for them and start developing that connection for those who have siblings that have more recently passed over. So if there's any siblings here that want to join us on Sunday, I think there is an event in Helping Parents Heal, but if you come over to Helping Siblings Heal, if you're not a member already, then feel free to add yourself in and I'll accept you.
So tell me, could I maybe post that Zoom link with this video so that people who are watching this would be, the siblings who would be able to join you? Is that a possibility? Or
yeah, definitely. Siblings can save the Zoom link, or I'll be posting reminders on the Helping Siblings Heal group. So,
and what time is it exactly on Sunday for you?
Let me look up all of the different times. It's 9 p.m. UK time.
Okay. So that would be 1 o'clock here in PT. It would be 4 o'clock in the afternoon for Eastern Standard Time. So
yeah. It's an hour later than this meeting.
Yes, just 1 hour later. Okay. Yeah. That's wonderful. Thank you for doing that, Anna. And I hope that this meeting has been has answered some questions for everyone on here and for everyone who's going to be watching the YouTube video. And again, you guys, you're such you're such an inspiration to all of us, but to me in particular, and I truly appreciate it. So thank you, Anna. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Kailee, and thank you, Craig. And I hope to have you on here again sometime soon. And have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone. And if you want to unmute, say goodbye if you'd like to. And
thank you for organising this, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.